I woke up early that morning, checking the small envelope on my nightstand for the 10th time, the one with the $42 I'd saved over 2 weeks, just so my son, Eli, could get a small birthday surprise. He was turning 7, and he'd been asking for a simple sketchbook because he loved drawing superheroes. Nothing expensive, nothing loud, just something that felt like the world wasn't ignoring him. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video. He ran into my room, holding my wrist like he was afraid the day would disappear if he didn't keep touching me. "Mom, is it today? Is it really today?" He whispered it like birthdays were things that needed permission to exist in my parents' house. I smiled, even though my stomach kept reminding me we weren't celebrating here. Not really. "Yeah, buddy," I said. "Happy birthday." He hugged my waist, and I pretended not to notice how thin he felt. Living under my parents' roof after my divorce felt like walking barefoot on sharp gravel. Every day was another insult, another rule, another reminder that I wasn't wanted. And Eli? They never let me forget that he was an extra burden. When we walked into the kitchen, my mom didn't even turn around. She kept peeling apples like she was auditioning for a show about ignoring people you didn't like. Dad sat at the table, scrolling through his phone. Mom said, "Don't make noise. We're not waking your sister. She had a long night." My sister, Rachel, 22 and worshipped like a princess, waltzed downstairs minutes later wearing pajama shorts and an attitude. "Ugh, why is the little gremlin awake this early?" She kicked a chair out of her way and stretched like an actress on camera. I squeezed Eli's shoulder to keep him grounded. "Because it's his birthday," I said. Rachel cut me off. "Oh yeah, totally forgot." She didn't look sorry. She didn't even try. She just poured herself cereal while rolling her eyes like my son's existence inconvenienced her breathing. Eli looked at her anyway, smiling. "Do you think maybe we could have cake tonight?" "Mom said maybe." Rachel nearly spit out her cereal, laughing. "Cake? What money? You think this house is a charity?" She slapped the cereal box onto the counter. "God, he's so needy." Dad chuckled without looking up. "He gets that from his mother." My face burned, but I kept quiet. I always kept quiet around them. Years of conditioning had taught me that talking back would be twisted into disrespect, then used as an excuse to punish me. Eli stood closer to me. "It's okay, Mom," he whispered. "We don't need cake. We can still draw later." Mom sighed, annoyed. "Drawing? On what? You waste enough of our electricity already with your little hobbies." I felt something inside me pinch, but the moment that actually sliced me open happened a few hours later, when we came, back downstairs after I helped Eli wash his hands. He walked into the living room hopeful, a little too hopeful. Something about his small footsteps, careful but excited, made my throat tighten. He went up to Rachel, who was sprawled across the couch like royalty. "Rachel," he said softly, "do you want to see the picture I drew of you? And, do you think maybe later we could go to the store? I just wanted—" She didn't even let him finish. She picked up the dirty mop leaning against the kitchen wall, the one they always made me use, and hurled it straight at his chest. The dirty strands slapped his shirt, and the handle banged against his shoulder. Eli stumbled back, shocked, hurt, confused. Rachel smirked. "Here," she said, "play with something at your level." Mom burst out laughing, pulling out her phone to record the whole thing. Dad didn't even look at Eli. He pointed the camera at Rachel instead. Both of them were grinning like they were watching a comedy show. Eli didn't cry at first. He just froze, holding onto the mop handle like it was something filthier than the insult itself. Rachel added, "Don't drop it. It probably cost more than anything your mom's ever bought you." Mom zoomed in with her phone. "This will be hilarious. Hold the mop up, sweetheart. Smile." She wanted humiliation for a 7-year-old. Eli's lips trembled. "Mom, why are they doing that?" I stepped forward, but Rachel shoved me with her elbow. "Relax. We're just toughening him up. Kids like him don't get far in life. Better he learns early." Dad finally looked up at me. "If you don't like it, maybe you should try raising a kid who isn't pathetic." Mom lowered the phone but kept recording. "Honestly, you should thank your sister. No one else will give him attention." And then Eli broke, not loudly, not dramatically. He just silently set the mop on the floor and whispered, "Can we go upstairs?" That small voice, it shattered something in me. I scooped him up and held him, my arms shaking so hard it scared me. He buried his face in my shirt, and I looked over his head at the 3 people who should have protected him, my parents, my sister, all laughing. Rachel smirked. "Don't be so dramatic. It's not like we hit him." Mom muttered, "Not yet." Dad shrugged. "Kid needs thicker skin." For the first time in years, I didn't swallow it. I didn't go quiet. I didn't nod and take it. I looked at them with a calm, so cold it scared even me, because in that moment, holding my humiliated child, smelling the dirt from the mop, hearing their laughter, I realized something. This was the last birthday they would ever ruin. And the revenge forming in my mind wasn't poetic, it wasn't soft, it wasn't karmic. It was real, and it was coming. That night, after I tucked Eli into bed, he asked me in the softest, most broken whisper, "Mom, am I really at that level?" "Like the mop?" I swear my heart cracked like glass. I held his small hand and said, "No, baby, you're better than everyone in this house. You're the brightest thing I have." But he just nodded like he wasn't sure he believed me. When he fell asleep, still clutching his pillow like it was a shield, I closed his door quietly and leaned against the hallway wall, shaking. I stared at the carpet, replaying the scene downstairs, Rachel laughing, Mom filming, Dad calling my son pathetic. I felt something inside me shift, not rage, not sadness, clarity. My parents never liked me. That was old news. But today, they crossed a line they couldn't walk back from. They humiliated a child, my child, and enjoyed it. They treated mockery like entertainment, cruelty like a family tradition. For the first time, I wasn't afraid of them. The only thing I was afraid of was staying one more day. But leaving wouldn't be enough. Not anymore. They needed to feel the fear they had fed me and my son all these years. They needed to understand what it meant to be powerless. They needed consequences. Real ones. I didn't want poetic revenge. I didn't want emotional symbolism. I wanted something that hit them where it hurt most. Their control. I lay awake until almost 3 a.m., forming a plan step by step. The next morning, when I came downstairs, Mom was already in the kitchen drinking her coffee with that smug expression, like she'd won something. Rachel sat on the counter scrolling her phone. Dad was yelling at the TV. Mom smirked when I walked in. "Hope your boy recovered from his big tragic mop incident." She snorted like it was the funniest joke she'd ever made. Rachel added, "He should be grateful. It's the first gift he's ever received that wasn't from the dollar store." Dad didn't even turn around. A weak child makes a weak mother. It took everything in me not to react. I couldn't. Not yet. Instead, I smiled, and that scared them more than if I had yelled. Mom narrowed her eyes. "What's with you?" "Nothing," I said calmly, pouring cereal for Eli. "I'm just done arguing." Rachel rolled her eyes. Finally. But what they didn't see was the stack of folded papers in my backpack. Documents I had been gathering secretly for months without understanding why. Birth certificates, medical files, my ID, Eli's school records. I had everything ready and didn't even know it until last night. Like some part of me had been preparing for this moment. While they sat around laughing about yesterday, I cleaned quietly, packed discreetly, and memorized every detail of my plan. At noon, Rachel announced she was having friends over that evening. "So keep your little charity case upstairs," she demanded. "He ruins the vibe." Mom chimed in. "Yes, keep him out of sight. I don't want people seeing what kind of mistakes I raised." Dad muttered, "As if anyone wants to see him anyway." I didn't blink. I just said, "Sure thing." And then I gave them exactly what they wanted. Silence, obedience, cooperation. All day, I acted like the same daughter they had stomped on for years. I did laundry. I washed dishes. I picked up their messes. Rachel even tossed a bag of trash at my feet and said, You missed a spot, loser. I picked it up without a word, because tonight, everything would flip. By 7 p.m., the house was full of Rachel's friends. Loud, entitled, the type of people my parents adored because they validated Rachel's perfect princess reputation. Eli stayed in my room drawing quietly, but every time he heard laughter outside the door, he flinched like it might be aimed at him. Downstairs, I watched my parents brag about Rachel's achievements, which were basically just her having a pulse and posting selfies. They bragged about her job she'd quit after 1 week, her car they paid for, her endless excuses they treated like accomplishments. And then I heard Rachel joking loudly, "My sister's kid? Honestly, he's the most boring 7-year-old on earth. I swear he was born a disappointment." Everyone laughed. Mom added, "He takes after his mother. Some people are just born at the bottom." Dad raised a glass. "To real family." They toasted, cheering like villains in a movie. And that was it. I walked upstairs, grabbed Eli's backpack, stuffed essentials inside, then pulled out the small camera I'd hidden inside an old shoebox. A camera filled with recordings, each one showcasing exactly who they were. Mom calling Eli worthless. Dad saying he wished I had never come back home. Rachel mocking my son's drawings, throwing a crumpled paper at him. And the final one, the mop incident, clear as day. Every insult, every shove, every laugh, all on video. But I wasn't going to post it online. That would be poetic. No, I had a different target. Something real. Something final. I grabbed Eli's hand. "Sweetheart, we're leaving." He blinked up at me. "Forever?" "Forever," I whispered. We walked downstairs, and that's when Mom spotted us with bags. "Where do you think you're going?" Dad stood. Rachel rolled her eyes. "What now?" I didn't answer them. I walked straight to the coffee table where my parents had their favorite thing in the world, their locked home safe key, the one they used to store cash, documents, and, most importantly, the folder that proved they were exploiting government programs by falsely claiming Rachel's disability benefits even though she wasn't disabled at all. I used to think that folder didn't matter. Tonight, it mattered more than anything. Dad shouted, "What are you doing?" I held the key between my fingers. "Leaving." Mom lunged forward. "You're not stealing from us." "I'm not stealing," I said calmly. "I'm returning something." Then I held up the camera. Rachel's face drained of color. "What the hell is that?" "Proof," I said, "of everything." Mom barked, "You wouldn't dare." I smiled again, and that smile made her step back, because for the first time in my life, they realized I wasn't afraid, and the revenge I was about to unleash would not be poetic. It would be devastating. As soon as they realized I had the camera, the entire room went silent. Rachel's friends stopped laughing. Mom's jaw dropped. Dad's face twisted like he'd swallowed glass. Rachel hissed, "Delete that. Now." I didn't move. "No." Dad stepped forward. "You think anyone will believe you over us?" I held up the key-shaped flash drive attached to my backpack zipper, the one containing both the recordings and scanned copies of the fraudulent documents from their home safe. "This doesn't need belief," I said quietly. "It just needs a destination." Mom's voice cracked. You recorded us?" "You filmed yourselves," I corrected. "I just kept the evidence." Dad's face turned purple. "Give it back." "Or what?" I asked. "You'll shove my head in another trash can?" "Maybe Eli's this time?" Rachel's friends began whispering, inching toward the door, embarrassed to be part of the show. "Good. Let them run." Mom reached out like she could still grab me by the hair. "You're not going anywhere, you ungrateful brat." That was when Eli stepped forward, tiny, shaking, but brave. His voice wobbled. "Don't touch my mom." And for once, they froze. I bent down to him. "Let's go, sweetheart." Dad lunged toward me like a bull, but I stepped back and said one sentence that stopped him cold. "I already submitted everything." He stopped mid-step. "Submitted to who?" "The school district, Child Protective Services, and that disability fraud office you thought nobody knew about." Mom's face collapsed. You wouldn't. I already did. It was the first time I'd seen fear in her eyes. Real fear. The kind she never thought she'd feel because she was so used to being the one inflicting it. Rachel's voice cracked. Please, you're going to ruin us. I stared at her. You filmed my child being humiliated. You ruined yourselves. Dad stumbled back into a chair, breath shallow. Mom grabbed his arm, trembling. Rachel actually cried. But not for me or Eli, only for herself. Perfect. I opened the door. We're done. And just like that, Eli and I stepped out of that house. No dramatic goodbyes, no poetic speech, no looking back. Just the cold, clean sound of a door closing behind years of abuse. 3 weeks later, I got the update. A caseworker called to inform me. Their fraudulent benefits had been suspended. An investigation was opened on repeated emotional and physical abuse. The school had flagged the video and banned my parents and sister from the campus. Their home was audited. And Rachel's social services file was under review for lying about medical conditions. They lost everything they controlled. Meanwhile, Eli and I moved into a small but warm apartment with a neighbor who offered an extra room, and every night he whispered, Mom, I'm not a mop. I'm not trash. No, I told him. You're the reason I walked out. Last week, he brought me a crayon drawing, him holding my hand, both of us smiling under a sun with a giant caption, We are real family. And for the first time in years, I believed it. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video.